Yo, welcome. We're live. Or we should be. It's been a while. Yeah, we're live. So I just left this up because this is the last time we were live. We were talking about Hogumadi. I had just made the caps. Je suis. And we were talking about refugee status. And some of the reasons I can't just go to the grocery store and get a job or whatever again. Go to the restaurant, whatever it is. So, yeah. I don't even know what we're going to talk about. Let the 0 people roll in. It's really nice to have spring here. The days longer. The weather warmer. Still extremely dusty in the basement. But I've got a window open now, so maybe that'll make things a little better. All right. Hoi. So yeah, I've just been thinking, well, I've been trying to sell something, trying to get some income, still tweeting, thinking about how my Twitter used to actually be funny, and now it's just like sad and desperate, and imagining my relatives getting bored because there's nothing to laugh at because I'm not posting very much anymore. I've got it's just I was trying to get my publishing pipeline in order. So I've deleted all my, oh no. Yeah, just using my grocery budget to go to coffee shops. I can't really stream when I go to coffee shops, so thinking about how can I get like a publishing pipeline going where I go out to my work spot, I do work stuff, I come back, I eat because I intermittent fast all day, and then remember all the things that I did that day. And so it's like the heart of the content publishing pipeline issue is, what am I selling? Everyone's selling something, right? I don't really feel that way. I feel like I'm making good stuff that should be valuable to people, but we're in a different kind of economy than when I got started with open source, and so it's the attention economy, so like everyone's competing for people's attention. So just making good stuff and putting it out doesn't get it shared, doesn't get you liked. God, where to begin? It's been weeks and I've done so much, so I've got to find a way to keep it in order. That's always been the challenge, right? So it's like, can I use my Twitter account and just basically use my tweets as an outline for what to talk about? Like, if I did the same process every day, perhaps I could do that. So, okay, my bio has changed. Now it's 1 year Python, just about like 11 months. Because I got this laptop in like May of last year. I started Python by like June. I had my first app packaged by like July and for sale by like August. Now I've got this Twitter / YouTube / Mastodon / everything app. I've got a Patreon API client that I just like, because the thing is, I just do like tech demos like every day, and sometimes I wrap a bunch of tech demos into an app. And then that's not the only thing I do. Like during January, I did a bunch of personal admin stuff because I was completely out of money, and I just wanted to get myself ready to go in one load if I found an opportunity. And then like February, I still couldn't afford to go to coffee shops, and then, you know, thankfully I got another grocery budget, and, you know, I stretched it out with rice and everything as much as I can, just eating rice, potatoes, you know, finding ways to make things cheaper. So I've got the receipt tracker project. Yeah, so it's just like I'd have to use my tweets like every day because I do like 10 tweets a day or something. And so to go back several weeks, we're talking, you know, dozens or hundreds of tweets. And yeah, good Lord. So post scheduler, fat people in public with bad habits, keeping track of my account data so I don't look at it, but I have it recorded, and so I can actually go back and figure out, you know, between some window of time, a few days to a few hours depending, I've got a source of data that I can analyze and figure that out, because it's just basically cache data. And so when stuff changes, the new cached item will also have changed, and they each have a timestamp, so you can figure out that it changed sometime between those two, and then like find all the tweets that I did between those time windows, find my following and follower list between those time windows. So yeah, I've been trying to get my first client. I put an ad on Hacker News each month when the Seeking Freelancer day has come, beginning of the month. Kind of going through the 20-ish apps that I made in Python and in JavaScript prior to that I oftentimes made a new backend for in Python. Still calling out these guys. The window for justice is closed in 10 days. That means have been 3 years since that fraudulent restraining order was granted, and I haven't been able to get to court on it. I haven't even read the whole complaint, number 3. I know people are tired of hearing that. Just talking about how a lot of this data-driven software I'm making was originally to vindicate myself, establish my demeanor over time, which is half of character. Search, talking about I really wish I had even $50 a week of sponsorship. The links are in the description box. If you would please get on the Patreon. Or if you're just interested in this app and not all this crazy iSpooge daily stuff, you're just interested in Hogamadi, we also have early access to that. But Patreon also gets you 100% off coupon to Hogamadi and the Notes app and everything. Talking about what I think about open source lately, like people will put out some food for charity and say, like, if you need some, take it, and then someone will come along and take all of it. That's sort of what open source is. And it's different because there's zero marginal cost with software, but not really, because just like with the narcissist, when they steal your identity, they don't just copy you, they also kind of beat you down and try to mirror their disgusting internal state onto you, so that it ends up them apparently having all your virtues and you feeling like crap, being triggered by them, etc., etc. They try to make you feel the shame that they have. They're basically powered by shame, which is... So authenticity is the highest vibration human emotion, and shame is the lowest. So narcissists are stuck coping with their shame. Being homeless and unemployed forces external focus and approval seeking, because basically you need to find someone to employ you, which means, like, people want you to be authentic, but not when you're talking about being homeless, because that just, like, makes them too uncomfortable. Or, like, if it's an extremely high vibration person that's matching, yes, they want you to be authentic. But then in business, like, basically no business is authentic. Like, they'll all say so on their company values page and whatnot, but realistically, very, very little. Probably the smaller the company, the more authentic. So if they're out there hiring, by definition, they're less of a chance of being authentic, which means it's going to be vibrational mismatch. So, you're basically going to have to be in a lower state, and as a result, you're not going to end up in as good of a place because you're not being authentic. So, yeah. Now is the best time of year to walk into a restaurant, speak with the manager, and get hired on the spot. But unfortunately, with the background check, that'll come back in a week or two, and then I'll say that I've had this workplace violence. False. So maybe in like 2 years to 2 to 7 years, because background checks go back 5 to 10 years. So it's not even at the manager's discretion, really, to say, oh, I believe that it was a fabricated record. It's more about the insurance. So if you let someone who had a recent DUI go out with the company vehicle and they mess somebody up and you knew about it, it's basically infinite liability, so insurance will have none of that. Well, why don't I just stop talking about it then? Because background checks are really good, and I'd rather just be upfront and above the board and talk about... it's like, oh, you can't determine the future. You don't know for fact that it'll pop up. Well, type my name into Google, it'll pop up. Like, it's going to come up. It's a big, serious accusation. It's probably at least as bad as being accused of sexual assault, being accused of workplace violence. We've talked about this, right? So thinking about the hubris of a homeless person comparing himself to an ex-Googler. I could have worked at Google at any time. I seriously did not want to work for big tech, and given what's happened to me within a few months of working in big tech, that's eaten the last 6 years of my life, I should have just never messed with it. But again, I was like... my situation has just gotten worse and worse. So where can I find a well-matched partner when I'm now thousands of miles from the Bay Area, right? My confidence is destroyed. With each loss, I've retained hope, though my confidence has dropped. So hope doesn't have an expectation attached to it. So when I lost my career, I still had my family and friends. So I thought Then I lost my friends. I thought I still have my family. Then I lost my family. Still had my health. And when my health gets too bad, when I get too skinny, like I'm probably like the third skinniest I've been now in a while, then birds of prey start circling around and seeing if they can eat me. Thankfully, none of them like swoop down on me, but you know, I'm a pretty small person to begin with, so probably not too much bigger than, you know, a weak wolf. This is a good one, actually. I like this one. Living under the control of a narcissist is like living with an angry TV that can pace around and use AI to play scenes from any show to induce engagement. And they don't want positive engagement in private, at least. They want to be admired. They want to have you show other people how high status they are in public. But otherwise, in private, they want to use you as their punching bag because they need to dump out their waste somewhere, right? So, thinking about Hogumadi, thumbs down, browser extension for Twitter and any platform, goes to your personal Hogumadi database and uses gossip to associated friends instances. So, thinking about like federation and stuff like that, this would be a good, simple feature. People on YouTube actually like the thumbs down, and I think Twitter had it for just a little bit and got rid of it. I have no idea about Facebook. I have not been on Facebook in a couple years. So yeah, many of us are living a spiritual death we call life. So yeah, here I'm just talking about I've strongly preferred to make offers for products and services over begging for money. At times I busk with my educational and open source work, like this right here, which is like playing the guitar with the case open for tips, picturing like out on a sidewalk. And there's this restaurant called Al's Breakfast where they'll, you know, and there's another one where it's like the worst diner where they like treat you like garbage. It's just part of their character. Sometimes I go to Al's Breakfast and berate people for not busking, you know, giving me money, but I'm not actually mad. But you can't really tell over textual communication, right? Especially if you don't know me in person. So I did it more like in the early days of my Twitter account, which it was like all people that I knew in real life following me. But then I don't know how distributed my tweets were. Like, I don't know who was actually seeing it. And I think my account is basically the same size as it was a few years ago. Maybe it's added like 100 people since 2018. I think I have an old Twitter archive, so that can go into like the event-based thing. So a narcissistic parent will always raise their children to be a narcissistic parent will always raise their children to be too weak to be a threat to them. If the child goes out into the world and comes back strong, the parent may actually feel threatened for a period, but the strength can be choked out within a few months. Because, you know, if they come back, obviously they're in a weak spot where they don't have any other choice. And so that weakness can be exploited. They can be beat down, used as a punching bag, lied about, just made weak in every way possible. The parent will steal the strong parts of the child's identity, leaving it destroyed within the child. They are parasites. That's exactly what I was talking about, identity theft. Like, that's what they do. They take the things that they envy you for, and they beat it out of you so that you don't have it anymore. And then they use the strength and life force of others to sustain themselves and lure new sources of supply in. Kill, steal, destroy. Demons run these meat suits. Like, they're so low vibration and in shame that they basically allow other entities to come in and take control of them, especially like when they go out drinking, things like that. And if I've been eliminated from the gene pool anyway, why should I be anything but authentic? Who cares if I look like a crybaby and sissy by speaking the truth? Nobody's going to choke the spark out of my eyes just for a chance at living an inauthentic life. So this is a good one that Owen Benjamin, comedian, talked about a couple days ago using his voice impressions. Like, he talked about, why don't they just kill, if they're gonna whack somebody, why don't they just kill them? Why do they gotta like torture and degrade them before killing them? He's like, if you can choke the spark out of their eye, they go down. Otherwise, they'll go up, meaning go up to heaven, go down to hell, up to high vibration, down to low density vibration, right? Up to authenticity, down to shame. So they can't just kill you while you have hope. They have to beat the hope out of you and then kill you to kind of capture the spirit and make it go down. So, right, like, if I'm never gonna be able to pass on my genes anyway because I'm in too low of a status place, I'm too trapped, people are sucking all my energy to the point where I can't do anything, I can't get anywhere, and if I have any kind of commercial success, they'll take me to court and steal it, this kind of stuff. Well, steal, is it ever really mine? No, death, debt. Coercive control is not. So anyway, basically what I'm saying is I don't care how stupid I look, because looking stupid keeps a spark in my eye. And if I just totally withhold everything, then the spark in my eye will go, and then I'm actually vulnerable to be killed. Right? I'm not saying I think someone's going to kill me, but on the other hand, I'm pretty sure that they're trying to beat the spark out of my eye, and who knows what the reason for that is, but as long as the spark never comes out of my eye, it will never benefit them to kill me. So as long as the spark doesn't come out of my eye, I don't have to worry about whether they're trying to beat me down to kill me, right? Sort of that whole like stay in love and don't go to fear thing that I've always been saying, but it was just like a concrete way of putting it that really rings true. Like, they won't kill you until they've beaten the spark out of your eye, because where you are when you die is where you're gonna go. So if you're in a low vibration state when you die, you're gonna go to hell. If you're in a high vibration state when you die, you're not gonna go to hell. So I've always thought that anyway. It's just like a concrete pop culture relatable way of putting that is they're not going to kill you until they can beat the spark out of your eye. So yeah, just a little bit about the psychology of when people in a group setting provoke you. If you don't respond with force, then everyone else will see that they can provoke you too. But if you do respond with force, then they'll all tell other people outside the group that you're the aggressor. So yeah, basically, you just got to stay away from that kind of people to begin with. It's like, I never really had the word for degenerates, but that's really what a lot of the people, my family and so-called friends, my so-called family and so-called friends that I grew up with are, is just degenerates. And yes, I participate in degeneracy with them, right? So here I'm just like, yeah, my 400 self-likes are cleared. So I know people really don't like the fact that I don't like anything except my own stuff. Like, it makes them feel unseen or whatever. Doesn't leave a good feeling in them, even though I don't even check who likes my stuff. Like, you can see I never check my notifications. So I was thinking, the likes are sort of like a bulletin board. Like, if you ever go to a cafe, sometimes there's a bulletin board. So there's likes and there's bookmarks. Bookmarks are private, likes are public. So they're both abstractly a collection. So actually let me pull something up here. I think I've made this since my last stream. I don't think I've showed it on the video yet, but I posted it on Instagram and Twitter. And this computer is so unbearably slow. Come on. So yeah, thinking about this Hogumadi thing as a social media CMS. So it's a collection. So this isn't a complete set of all the abstractions. But yeah, likes and bookmarks. You know, there's feed item, feed service user, feed item media, routed message. There's collection page and thread item. So, you know, a collection is made up of collection pages. I just made this extremely fast, obviously. And then uniform handling across all these different backends through these different abstractions. So I literally just made this with no planning in like 10 minutes. Right, so likes and bookmarks are the two built-in collections. And the Twitter API v 1.1 just straight up has collections that you can edit. You can actually get to them if you go to the TweetDeck client. So that would be a thing we could do, is make a collection for each day's show. But then that's something I'm just building straight into Hogumadi as well. So that if the V2 API ever supports collections, we can just wire into that. If we ever make a v1.1 backend, we can just wire straight into that. But as it stands, you get the likes as a public collection and the bookmarks as a private collection. So part of the content pipeline would be taking all, you know, basically exporting your bookmarks into a JSON file, which is what we call a collection, clearing your bookmarks maybe every day, because I do like 30 bookmarks a day. And then likes could be, you know, between shows, it could be both my stuff and friends' stuff. And then I would clear the likes, like maybe run it once a day and clear all of the likes that are over a week old, for example. So that's just like a rolling list of the last 7 days worth of likes. And then bookmarks I would just dump out every day and maybe publish a collection of bookmarks every day. Something like that. You know, just automating part of the process in terms of what I just showed. You know, the feed items. So we get a new collection of feed items, which bookmarks are a collection of feed items, likes are a collection of feed items, then we've got custom collections. And then this works, you know, not just Twitter, you can have YouTube. So like a playlist is sort of a collection of feed items. I'm still working out exactly if collection item and feed item are the same. Like for a while I was representing DMs as feed items, but it's actually a little bit more specific. And if we want to do email, it's sort of like, you know, think about your inbox. Like your inbox isn't quite a feed. Like it's something that can be reordered, and that's something a little bit different than a feed. But then, you know, a feed is sort of like a collection that the system orders for you, and old things roll off. So, can you tell I used to program in Java? I still love Java. Can you tell? So here, then I reposted a whole bunch of old stuff from like 2021. Oh yeah, so a feature that I added for Hogumadi is on this day. And I've got two different methods. I've got Gregorian, and then I've got on this week of the year, on this day of the week. So like last year on, you know, this is probably like the 20th week of the year, and it's Monday, so the second day of the week. So just retweeted a whole bunch of old stuff. So here's me talking about, oh yeah, this, and I actually made an app for this based on this piece of paper. I need to deposit 54 a day to be sustainable. Rent at my previous apartment was 62 a day. Just for rent. It's crazy. Now it's like, I've still got $9 a month. So I used to have 200 videos. Now I've got like 400 videos. And in my 200 videos, I've got like 10 new subscribers. Weird, huh? Talking about, all the way back to 2020, talking about ActivityPub and self-hosting, and people used to like that. But yeah, just so much quote-unquote complaining on my account. Like, the thing is, people want to just see me get off the street, but then they don't want to donate any money. They don't want to, why aren't I DMing them? Why aren't they DMing me? It's almost like for every one DM I get, I'll send a DM, just because that shows me what's normal. If nobody's DMing me, then it's not normal to DM people, right? Well, just be bold, blah, blah, blah. Like, there's got to be reciprocity. I can't be the, the one to send the DM is the lower status one, right? So if nobody's DMing me, it means it's not going to be a reciprocal relationship. And I think I made a tweet about that at some point. So I don't remember. I probably retweeted like 20 or 30. Back when I was homed, I made some AI with decision nodes. I would have weighed legality as a factor that dominated the cost. If a person wants some housing, it should be clear. It should be easier to get than some drugs that are illegal. I think there's more rhythm to that before. Just talking about the marginal time of little habits, like when I got my first light, trying to type on a little keyboard in the dark, it'd always take several typos, and just like finding home row, I had to like scoot around to find it as opposed to just slapping my hand on it. So it's like every time I want to type something, it's like 2 extra seconds. So if I type something 30 times a day, that's like a minute a day wasted. Like, oh, no big deal, it's only a minute. Oh, time is the only limited resource, even more limited than money. So, and it's just like how many of these different habits are there, and it's not always seconds or milliseconds, it's often minutes or sometimes hours. Back in the day, still have hope, still have my city apper sign back in January of 2021, which is basically exactly when my mom died, weirdly enough. Fallacy, you homeless unemployed person have a computer and are on Twitter, therefore you can use all your time to use the full power of your computer and get a job that I might imagine for you. Reality, zero income, food costs money, need to poop, no library during pandemic. So yeah, people just can't see the reality of a situation that they haven't been in, This is before the whole like fatherless thing, where it's like 90% of homeless people are fatherless, which just means they have literally no wealth, no support system. This is where I so it's February of 21, literally had no shower since the beginning of pandemic, March of 2020. So I did actually, I've published a work in progress version of my book since then. So here's the app version of that paper that I showed up above. Did I write 1 million words in 2021? I could probably figure out with pretty good accuracy. Talking about, get me some money to look. See, people were still kind of supporting me back in 2021, where I'm talking about help get me some money so that I can publish a part of my book. Well, I've published a part of my book, and I get less help now. Some early pictures of this is what it used to look like when I lived in my car. Here was my carputer when I went into a motel for the first couple times. the Truxler method. The biggest opening you can give an attacker is to talk to them without recording. A lawyer will put his career on the line to lie in court. Open tables lawyer. So my system for shitting in bags, and I don't really swear anymore, but I'm just reading what I wrote. My system for shitting in bags and putting them in restaurant garbage cans is called the Truxler method. Ooh, I had a really good idea for a hat earlier today too. But yeah, I think I actually made a design for the Truxler method too. Here's art that I made. You know, people are still supporting me back here. It's just like, since I'm not living in the car anymore, and since, like, I don't really know what the landscape on the street is like anymore after pandemic, because I switched from living on the street to living in domestic abuse, like 2,000 miles away from home. So it's like now I'm just some drunk boomer's punching bag. And I actually feel more threat to my life here than on the street. So yeah, talking about, you know, 5.9 reliability versus 1.9. Talking about this is the tacos I used to always get, like this is really good vegan food. My carputer. So yeah, still in the retweets. So here's some more concept art. This is going to be book number 2, Doing Business While Homeless. It was originally going to be the whole physics of homelessness, but I decided to actually split it into 4 books. So the first one is bio, second one is safety and security, the third is love, the fourth is esteem. So this is going to be book number 2. Free t-shirt idea, 30 drinks a month make a drunk. So yeah, here's where I was talking about I have a 9,000 word open source book that needs editing faster than I can do. So I did actually on Gumroad make a pre-sale for it. Let me pull up Gumroad because there's a lot of stuff on there now. Right, so there's the Notes app, there's BetRSS, there's Hogumadi. I changed the cover to use that graphic. There's the hat. There's the pre-order on the book. And then there's consulting for me. This was a good thread about corporate HR or individual managers may have zero tolerance policy on bullying, which would instantly fire a person upon first banter reported, leaving them unable to demonstrate whether they are truly a bully or testing the water. Assumes bad intent of fired, which is a bad on the company. Because yeah, like, part of bantering is testing the water, and if you test the water and get called a bully, you know, obviously that relates to my situation. Tahoe taters. This is one of my first. This is an earlier recipe, so I used potatoes, spring greens, avocado, guacamole, coconut shreds, salt, probably black pepper, and then red pepper, and some oil. I think it was avocado, but olive would be good as well. Good olive oil. So yeah, talking about I put my worst foot forward online. If I'm tolerable here, you'll probably love me IRL. Like I said, I used to know people IRL, so my online behavior was just like, it was obviously, uh, people knew I was cool. If you don't know I'm cool, my online behavior can be taken a lot differently. So unlike people who put their best foot forward online and have no social skills, so people are like, oh yeah, my true self is my online self. I'm like, my online self is anything but my true self. So I am rectifying that by having a second brand, which this account actually started off as my professional brand, but this is back to my brand that I had as a teenager. Because I'm just like getting back in touch with that original vibration that lifted me up so high. So I hate being online, and I'm not going to lie about it, but I love making social media tech. Like a drug dealer, I don't get high on my own supply, right? This was a fun one. This is September of 2019. This is literally right before OpenTable started really coming at me hard with the hammer. And so one thing that my grand boss said to me was, your behavior trumps any explanation. And so what's funny about this shirt is I say, copyright. The thing is, if they claim the copyright, then they are admitting that the boss said it to me. So, explaining the joke. So basically this is me overtly stealing the copyright. Obviously I made the design for the quotation because of something funny that happened that I explained in a tweet a long time ago. And I want to get a lot of these different tweet collections together as well. So part of Hogumadi is, I made this framework for getting collections of tweets together. The original basis for the app was, the archive functionality. So now that it's got search and on this day, and there's a backend there to actually add tweets to a collection, and I created a front end hook where you can there's a check mark, there's a checkbox on the tweets. Why am I just not using Hogumadi now and all the time? Very good question. I guess I feel like I don't want to get caught with my pants down when the Twitter API shuts off, because I know it's going to happen it's allegedly happening anytime, but it's not happening. So anyway, so a lot of the merch ideas I would put into a collection. So here I think I put a couple screenshots. No, not here, but around here. So here's my new favorite, about 1.75 pounds of russet potatoes cut into fries. It takes time to prep, but it is very satisfying to cook all the time. So it costs about $2 for the potatoes and oil to do that, as opposed to about $4 for a bag of potato chips. So, it's not a huge savings, and in terms of time, it costs more money, but at the same time, fills me up better, and a half an hour of, easy cooking to just mindlessly do, it's a good thing. I haven't been able to afford the tacos. The tacos were probably $6 or $7 per meal, and I'm down to the level of $2 or $3 per meal. By the way, I did mention Huel seemed to dehydrate me a little too much before. That's not the case. It was just the case that it was my first, I first started going back at the Huel when I was on just rice and beans, and I was on rice and beans and pretty much out of water for several days. So the first time I drank the Huel, I was just already so dehydrated that it did dehydrate me, in fact. So I said back then, I'll get back to you on that. So yeah, Huel is fine. So I've been drinking about 5 tablespoons a day, which is about a cup. I've got a glass peanut butter jar, so I just scoop in 5 tablespoons. fill it the rest of the way up with water, shake it up. And I do that basically so I get the fries ready, I get them in the oven, they have to bake for like a half an hour. And then I make the thing of Huel, so I drink the Huel, and then I eat the fries, and by the time I eat over a pound of fries with olive oil, it's just like I'm freaking stuffed, and I'm feeling good. And I did that like 2 or 3 hours ago, and I'm just barely not stuffed. And I'm like, do I want to make another batch? I want to, but I'm still pretty stuffed. So I guess, man, it's just always a thing. Like, so I go out, I work all day, fasted. Like, I'm super amped up from the coffee still. Like, I went so long without coffee that, like, my tolerance just, I've never really, like, it's been a long, in college I drank like 3, 4, 5 cups a day. And when I worked in Silicon Valley Tech, I might have drank like 3 a day, maybe 4 on a really heavy day. But I was never like an 8-shot of espresso kind of thing, It's like I'd get like 2 or 3 coffees throughout the day, and then maybe 1 at night. And yeah. So anyway, I went from like 2 cups a day every day to 0 for a long time, and now 1 cup a day just amps me up. And it's like I really can't afford it. It's digging into my grocery budget, but I can't work. Like, it's not that I can't work here. I could work here, but because my relative will not communicate with me sober, there can't be any kind of agreement between us, and so I refuse to do commercial activity here. Like, I'll come here, I'll sleep, I'll study, but if I'm going to do any kind of commercial work, I'll even do these live streams, but if I'll do any kind of commercial work like coding, I've got to go to the library, I've got to go to the coffee shop. Library doesn't open till noon, so I end up I have to do something, otherwise the spark in my eye will go away, and then I'll be vulnerable to be killed and go down. I'd rather starve to death with the spark in my eye. More and more boomer talk lately. My relatives who I know are watching this. Like, oh, boomers have grit. Harwin just a baby. Homeless guy can't know how hard the boomers had it. They can teach the homeless guy a lesson by isolating him and not inviting him to any family stuff that I would even turn down because they're done. They're out of my life. Weave it to Beaver and Scooby-Doo style. How does homeless guy like it, huh? How does Harwin like it? Little baby, can't possibly know how hard the boomer had it! Right? Forget them. Little rhyme. Hot chicks, eunuchs, say cheese. Cut off your what if you want to work at Big G. You like diversity. Yeah, you know me. Only get an access key if you sit down to pee. Say hey yo, if you know, start a start up. If you got flow while you stand, write your name in the snow. Oh. Finally built a script to reset bookmarks and likes. It's long been my intention to make a periodic process, but I always fall behind fast. The missing piece of the content pipeline puzzle has been considering things as part of the sales funnel. Authentic Curation Plus, this is what I opened with. So see, it's already like 3 days ago is where my opening to this was, and we've gone through like all this other stuff. Oh yeah, so this is an announcement I haven't made on video, which is, so yeah, after the fraudulent restraining order is off, like, basically, it's really, like, on the conscious level, a reason that I don't do a lot of engagement with people is I'm actually kind of scared that the lawyers who have definitely lied and committed perjury Open Table's lawyers, Seyfarth Shah LLP, have committed perjury, straight up accusation. They've, if you really go back into my Twitter, you'll see I was like getting the sense that I was being stalked. And then a few months later, a private investigator shows up at Taco Bell and serves me some papers. So obviously I was being stalked. My intuition was correct. I just didn't know who was behind it or anything like that. And then after that, they showed up at my workplace and served me again after I beat them in court. Because basically they bluffed. And, this cost me a lot of energy dealing with this. And, my God. And so, they are dedicated to smearing me. And they will lie to do it. Both Open Table management directly, as well as a now former lawyer, which I don't know. So I emailed them, and I got an auto reply that the lawyer who really did me dirty doesn't work at the firm anymore. So I don't know if they separated with him, but they didn't do anything to make it right with me, because obviously they're in zealous defense of their client. They won the case. So, gotta twist the client's nuts a little bit. Just keep publicly, I don't want to be doing this, but they did me wrong and I've had no access to justice. And so, it's all I can really do is just keep publicly shaming them. Like, oh, just let it go. Yes. Once I'm housed and have a new, it's because of the background check, like, there's no way I can just get a job and move on. Like, it's not at the discretion of an employer or a manager to just let me into the workplace. It's insurance. So this is a public battle, If they would have just given me a neutral reference to begin with, I got unemployment after they wrongfully fired me. If they would have just been neutral about it and let me move on to my next employer instead of speaking poorly of me in the reference check, then we would not be here. So it has injured me. It has, like back in the West, you could kill somebody for taking your horse because your horse is your ability to plow your fields, to get around, this and that. Well, if you take away my ability to work in tech or to work in, whatever my field is, by giving an extremely negative reference, by taking me to court for publicly calling out that the reference was wrong, that is defamation and me using the court of public opinion to, obviously nobody's going to support me versus $1 billion company, right? But I just have to make it clear that is, this brand is my only channel to say my side of the story. Like, I don't have access to the legal system. And in 10 days, the window, even for challenging it, is closed. And when I went back to California to challenge it, they gave me a hearing date that was like 2 months out in the future. And I wasn't going to be able to stay there for 2 months waiting for a hearing. Like, I thought I would go there, get the hearing within a couple weeks, and then get a new job because I'm vindicated. So, effectively priced out of justice. Just a little Python tip, the qual name. There's .name, .module, but the name of abc.def class is just df. So if you put them together, it's, main.def. So you can't instantiate the type with the string. So if you use .qual name, then you get main.abc.def. And then just a thing showing how to transform different types into nested tuples. And then showing that they're the same, they come out with the same hash code. Need a way to get back home, at least to a new place. I'd be happy to try a rural red state spot. Caveat, I won't depend on a savior. I need enough runway to take off. Free and clear, no strings. Where's my Wi-Fi money? The easiest path to fame for narcissists in my life is via attacking me until I speak on them. My relatives. Oh, we're gonna get famous! Speak life into them. Bless them with more attention than they deserve. It's like, oh, let me give you the scoop on Harlan. Once I finally get something going again. Like, oh, who are you? You're just some homeless guy. The hubris, I used to have a golden reputation, a huge network. I used to be a public speaker, right? Which will get the most fame? Because there are multiple. How do narcs respond when other narcs outdo them? So from old friends to different relatives, which will get the most fame out of this? So it's like the less I can talk about them, the better. If you have anything nice to say, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. That's some multi-level wisdom. Has another meaning. It's a hack in psychology where speaking without the appearance of balance makes undiscerning listeners sympathize with an aggressor. The hack is they act so fantastically nasty that speaking nicely is revolting. Like, what can I say positively about my relative who I live with? I can say something completely unrelated. I can be like, well, he's been able to, and a lot of the things that people would publicly know him for are also fabricated. I'm not going to sit here and do an expose, but what can you publicly say about him and what's the truth of it? The more I sit here and talk about it, and say the truth, which sounds negative, the more like an aggressor I appear as, right? So it's like something that they would do to me is say, oh, he used to be doing so good in life, but, at some point around, when he was in San Francisco, doing the drugs on the street with all the street people, at least I think he was doing that. He was doing so good before that, but now he's a frickin' wacko. And I literally haven't seen my relatives since I've been here, so they're just going to believe, oh yeah, the fentanyl crisis is really making, he must have just got mixed up with that, and now, he's just got Marty is such a saint for, relative is such a saint for putting up with him, even though they don't know how not bad I am, but it's just every little thing is going to be blown up. But, oh, he used to be doing so good. So it's oh, yeah, he's credible. He's telling the truth because, he'll say something nice about him, but then he's just, oh, he's such a saint for dealing with him. All this whacked out post-fentanyl version of Harlan, just so whacked out, just heart so full of hatred. So it's I've got to say something positive about the people who are, the thing is, none of these people matter. It's just, I'm forced to deal with, as few as possible, but you're not really forced. You can go to the homeless shelter. Well, I'm not going to abandon my work. That's a hill I'll die on. If my relative wants to kick me out, then obviously I have to leave my work here. But I'm not going to voluntarily leave my work here and separate from it. I need somewhere to put my work before I leave here. I need somewhere to go with my work, or I need to be kicked out. Straight up. And I know you relatives are listening. So you're going to have to find a way to get me in jail, and I'm sure Open Table's lawyers would happily collaborate with you on that. But I'm not going to abandon my work. I'm not going to abandon my work. And that's a challenge to the narcissists in my life, these witches, from my relatives to my old friends. Whoever's watching, that's a challenge to them now. And I want to speak on as few of these people as possible. Because if I don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. I have nothing nice to say. I do have negative experience to share, but the only way to share that is to say something nice. So, I don't have it in me to say something nice about the relative I'm staying with. Because it's not authentic. Even thinking back, I'm a person who wants to see good in people. I'm a person who always has hope. And a lot of people who go through narcissistic abuse are like this. They give way too many second chances. There's way too much seeing the potential in a person that it's given as sound advice to not look at a person's potential. But then people in my situation where all we have our potential are left to die. Literally. Because people are like, don't judge people by their potential because they're only going to take advantage of that fact and future fake you and make you think that they're going somewhere until they get what they want, and then bam. So it's like psychopathic, narcissistic, cluster B, reprobate people take advantage of the fact that a beat down person who still has their empathy. So, right, we've talked about this on the channel before. It's a spectrum of, it's not there's a narcissist and there's an empath. It's a spectrum where how much empathy does a person have? And it's a spectrum between empath, quote unquote, and narcissist, quote unquote. There's different areas in life where you're either narcissistic or empathic. But so there are pure narcissists, there are not pure empaths. Maybe Jesus himself would have been a pure empath. And just because you have empathy doesn't mean you have to show it to somebody. That's the thing. If you're an empath, if you're empathic, predominantly, it costs energy to use empathy. By the time Jesus kicked over the money changers' table, he knew that they were people that it would be a waste of empathy on, to go and try to talk them out of it. He knows that they're fallen people. And once you determine that somebody's there, then you have to turn off your empathy for them. So then it's the narcissist, cluster B, whatever, who acts wicked towards an empathic person can say, oh, well, I have so much empathy. Look at how many people love me. I just decided that he was taking advantage of me, so I turned my empathy off with him. Are you listening, relatives? This is what you can say about me. you know, as if you don't already know this trick. Because, you know, another thing too is I grew up with one younger brother and a few kids around the neighborhood. Like, I didn't learn how to get bullied. I didn't learn how to bully people. Like, I just had good relations with most people, and if they didn't have a good relation with me, I didn't have a relationship with them. I wasn't stuck in a house with a ton of siblings and cousins and stuff like that. Like, maybe that's part of why I was able to go so far in life. But no, it's just because I'm weak and I had it so easy compared to the boomers. Right? How did I have it so easy again? So, right. So they're always watching. Did I finish this one? So, yeah, the hack in psychology. So they're always watching, looking for openings, looking for opportunities to attack, opportunities to take. Never above the board, fake accounts, flying monkeys, exploiting every weakness, demonic intelligence in possessed vessels, always in competition. Oh, Harlan's a victim? Well, I'm Harlan's victim. Paul, you're such a saint for dealing with Harlan. So then this video comes out literally after I'm posting these tweets. Or I saw it, like, it came out literally, like, at the exact same time. And then it's, like, touching on, like, the exact same keywords, which is awesome. So, yeah, I've got to find a way to, like, talk about... So, see, what I could do as part of the content pipeline is be like, all right, I went through all of these tweets in this video. And then... kind of like use Twitter as my leading indicator of what I'm going to talk about, and then create a collection either before or after the video and just go through that collection and then say, you know, this collection, these, or this video, these tweets, part of a collection. And then I've got another channel, Instagram, where I post, you know, more pictures and longer kind of bloggy posts. Oh yeah, so I actually added this feature within an hour of seeing this post because it was already in the works. I just had to get a... Man, I haven't even mentioned the CMS. Well, I showed you the thing saying it's the CMS, but yeah, so, man, I rewrote a ton of the internals of Hogumadi to be a content management system, not like anything I've seen before. It's like a syndicate. I'm not going to mention the term that I made up yet. So yeah, something that I'm thinking too is like I should do a lot of this for supporters only. Like I should put out at least work that's like at least as good as my best work to public, but still give supporters something to support for. But like I've only had one supporter. I've gotten no new supporters in a long time. So it's like I'd be doing it into a void basically. So it's sort of a chicken and egg problem about publishing in public. But anyway, so like Elon Musk is associated with all these brands. So I already had brands going into, you know, a big, like a thing. One of the first features I added to Hogumadi in a while was brands. One of the first distinct features I added at all, period. Brands and collections went with that for featured content. And then partners, I already had the data in the brand descriptor. So now it's, you know, Harlan is associated with iSpooge Daily. And iSpooge Daily is associated with Harlan as the owner and the alt personal brand of. Two different relationships in two different directions. So yeah, within an hour of... This was just a concept posted. But yeah, Hogumadi actually already supports that. And this was within an hour of... So that was at 1:36 p.m. This was at 3:32 p.m. So 2 hours. I'd love to see a Yelp for homeless people and other vulnerable, low-status people. When I'm back on my feet, I'll be sure to review every entity I've done business with in the last 5 years since I've been homeless. How do you think OpenTable's rating and Safe Earth Shot LLP's ratings will be? You know, it's just like people like me don't have a platform. We don't have access to justice. If OpenTable would have told me what I'd done wrong at any step, I'd have repented from pre-firing onward. Instead, they exercise their power to damage me, which is what a psychopath or narcissist or cluster B will do. Like, they're not people you can have a conversation with, apparently. But then they're going to take it, flip it around, and make it look like I'm a crazy, violent person who can't have a conversation, who won't have a conversation, who's avoiding conversation, you know? It's like my relative will explode on me repeatedly for being constructive, and then I'll be like, fine, you've exploded on me so many times that I'm just done. But they'll only explode on you when they feel like they have enough to say to other people why they're not talking to you, right? Or you're stonewalling them. It's like the difference between silent treatment and gray rocking, or stonewalling and gray rocking. Stonewalling or gray rocking. It's the intent, right? Like, if every time I talk to my relative, he's drunk and he explodes on me, and so I stop talking to him when he's drunk, the only requirement is go 1 day without drinking. And it doesn't mean I'll talk to him right away when he goes 1 day without drinking. It's not like it's like one way they can weaponize that is like, I went a day without drinking and he refused to talk to me, so he's like... It doesn't mean as soon as you go 1 day without drinking, I'll talk to you. It's not like a way you can take control of me. There should regularly be periods where you go a day without drinking, but it's like, it's actually back to 30 days because if he wasn't going to take me up on 1 day, then he doesn't care enough, and so I'll amp it up to my normal standard 30 days, which everybody else gets, including my own mom, which is why I didn't talk to her even before she died. Like, I didn't know she was going to die, but she died, and I didn't talk to her because she didn't meet my requirements. So the fact that I lowered it to 1 day for my relative because I stay with him, and he couldn't even take me up on that, it's like, I'm a retard for lowering it to 1 day. I'm not that cheap. So yeah, they'll exercise their power to damage you as much as possible. Whereas I'm like sitting here trying to be as vague as possible about the people I talk about. Obviously, I'm isolated, so there can only be like one person I'm actually talking about. The rest of my relatives know. They think they know me from this stream and from what he says about me. Nobody knows me just from this iSpooge Daily brand. Guaranteed. Like, guaranteed this is my worst foot. On purpose. This is dark tech comedy. Oh, you're just a narcissist in saying that. It's like I've variously tried to email relatives and they call me narcissist. They explode on me. They say, oh, you're hurting my sister. Guarantee my firing made somebody in the chief diversity officer's numbers go the right way. They offered me a neutral reference in court, which implies to me they were, it's proof that they were giving bad reference, right? Oh, we were giving you a neutral reference till you started going crazy on Twitter about us giving you a bad reference. Being able to sit silently with your thoughts without surrendering to your urges is superpower. Oh, you're just posting on Twitter all day. You're just getting on these streams all the time because you just can't be alone with yourself. Good God, I'm alone with myself hours every day. not suffering, not struggling, extremely happy to be alone with myself every day. Obviously, you can't see most of the results of my being alone with myself every day because I'm doing commercial work and trying to get paid. I have no fear about confronting any thoughts. If people would bring things to me, I would confront them. Easy. Well, what about your cousin was just trying to give you a hug and you pushed him away? My cousin was hug raping me. I told him to get away from me. He was provoking me on purpose, and I was like, get away from me, get away from me, get away from me. And he's just like trying to hug me into a corner. Mind you, this is during the pandemic. I don't know where he's been. So he's like literally got me into a corner, and I'm like, get away from me. Count down, get away from me, get away from me. I'm physically cornered against a car. So I push him away from me. Oh, he was just trying to hug you. Oh, and you just exploded. You really are a crazy drug-addicted that fentanyl really screwed you up. Oh, oh, oh. People can make more money begging at a freeway exit ramp than I can make sharing Python development and stuff almost every day, producing open source apps. Like, I at least need 10 days of income. You cheapskates. Al's breakfast. Need to get in character again. I may be homeless and a refugee, but I've taken no welfare. Right? You see how much work I'm putting in. You can't even see most of it that I'm doing. Oh, you just make crappy UIs. Like, I could make that in 5 minutes. I'm sure you could. Pull yourself up by the bootstraps. Back to square one. All these boomer phrases only work for people with at least poverty level income, which is $3.75. Oh, $3.75, you could just eat rice and beans. Just get it wrong. Like, over a few months, if you only look at food costs. You know, if I were not in this place, $3.75 a week, that would basically like let me rent a cheapy apartment, you know, not have a car, get some food, you know, maybe have a car that's like paid off with super cheap insurance, but then oil change every few months, tires every X amount of time, right? Like routine maintenance that comes up. As the car gets over 10 years old, it's going to have more and more things, bushings to replace. You know, there's labor. Something on the pulley system gives out. That's, you know, a few $100 part plus $1,000 of labor. You got to put away a little money. You know, I've got a budget for this. Like, I've had a budget for 5 years. That's not changed. You know, when the car is newer, you can budget less for maintenance. But once the car is older and paid off, you're still going to have to be putting money away for maintenance. You basically put away what your car payment was, like $240 a month for maintenance. I mean, you know. So here's a fun, you know, it's just all those boomer. So basically 90% of homeless people are fatherless. Few have experienced existential lack of wealth, and there is a slur for it. Back in the day, bastard was a word. Why was bastard a word? Because that's literally what homeless people are, is bastards. Like not trying to be insulting. It's like literally, bastard is an insult because it's what when people say homeless now, that's what bastard used to mean. It's like people who can't take care of themselves, who are probably drunk, you know, like definitely degenerate, stuff like that. So yeah, I did a little exploring. I found a way to... So Windows S Mode, it only has one Git client, and it like really doesn't work. Like, it doesn't have Git over SSH access. So it's basically like not a practical solution. Like, I don't even know. Like, I feel like if using it over HTTPS worked, I would have been able to do it. Maybe I was just, I don't even know. But it's also just UI wise, it's like, it's just not that good. I tried to use it for my book a little bit, and it's just like, it's not great. So anyway, I found an option with Python, and I just, did a little dev practice with that. So another thing, if a recruiter or potential client has zero politeness, I'm not going to respond. So like some of my old friends, I believe, or it could have been, a private investigator tried to troll me and say, oh, I'm a recruiter. I'm with, it's like, oh, is there something, over text message. It's just like, this isn't how a real recruiter would act. So it's just like, I'm not even going to respond. But like, if they were trying to troll me, they can be saying, oh, like, I sent him a message as a recruiter trying to hook him up with a job, but he didn't even reply. He's literally not even looking for work. Like, it's only ever hurt me to drop my standards. Like, maybe there's a short-term gain in dropping my standards, but over the long term, it only makes the baseline worse. So it's just not even worth it. So it's like, if you were a prostitute and you only had one potential client who wanted to raw dog, would you do it? Well, it depends how bad you need rent. Or would you just, no, it's not going to help you in the long term. It's not going to help you in the long term to take that raw dogging client. So it's just, for me, it's the same thing. Low quality recruiter means low quality employers, right? So let's see, I made another little Hogumadi extension where you can embed tweets, so it works without a Twitter API key. Harlan is a troll and proven violent bigot. Harlan is goofy. Harlan is goofy. Oh man, it's like crazy thing with my relative is just since I moved my stuff out of storage into his house, it's like he's been pushing me to leave. So it's like I've always been skeptical of his intentions, and it's just like bringing my stuff out of storage like shows that the budget's getting weak. And also it's like, well, the stuff is already in his house, so it's just like I will die on this frickin' hill of not abandoning my stuff, because that's basically giving consent. If I'm told to leave and I have no way to take my stuff with me, then it's not giving consent to take my stuff. But if I just leave my stuff here, then it's giving consent. So that is, my work is all I have left. So I will not give implied consent about taking my work. By all means, kick me out, but that is not giving me consent. That is not me giving consent by abandoning my stuff. That is, I physically can't take 3 or 4 crates of work with me. So I think spiritually it's a little bit different. Well, you can take your 3 or 4 crates of stuff with you. It's like, that'd be an interesting one to explain to the cops. Like, yeah, I'm in just this suburban park with 3 or 4 crates of documents and computer equipment. Like, yeah, my relative kicked me out, and I'm 2,000 miles from home, and I'm not going to abandon that stuff, and, so here I am in this park with 3 or 4 crates of documents. You're going to take me to jail and leave my documents in the park? No, you're not. You're going to put the documents into the police car with, or the police want to look at all of my, it's just spiritually, it just goes, it's in God's hands, and I think God would protect me. But if I voluntarily leave my stuff here, and leave without it, then I'm not as protected. So it's, the best thing I can do to keep the peace is not interact with my relative at all. And, oh, well, you're getting online and talking crap about him. That gives him grounds to be mad at you. It's like, it's like the exact same thing as with OpenTable. I'm only online talking crap because they refuse to address it directly. And it's gone on for a long time, and they've made it clear that I am in the weak position and they are in the strong position, and they are going to hurt me as bad as possible. The more I talk with them, the more they're going to try to hurt me. So the fact that I'm talking about it online, yes, they're going to be mad about it. But that's not me making them mad. That is me communicating to everybody else who I might have to deal with what's happening. Because there has been belligerence on the other end. Me going online and talking about it when there's been belligerence. So this is now teaching them a word. How can they say that I'm being belligerent? I'm refusing to communicate. Yes, I'm refusing to communicate because every time I communicate, my relative is drunk and explodes on me, and I do not tolerate that. So, I have given a rule, which is no alcohol before we communicate. That's not being belligerent at all. But of course, appearances are greater than reality, right? Perception creates reality, so they can just be all witchy and create the perception in everybody, tell facts, tell part of the story, but still be lying that I won't communicate. I've tried so hard to communicate, and I am mocked, I'm exploded on. It's always with a drunk person, it's never with a sober person. I've given way more opportunity than I need to give to communicate. So I'm not the one who's being belligerent, the one. I am not being belligerent. I don't care how it appears. I am not being belligerent. And you know who else knows that? God knows that. So as long as I act consistently in a way that me and God know that I'm good and I'm right, then whatever happens is good. But as soon as I start acting from fear, as soon as I give implied consent for things that I don't want to, acting out of fear by just leaving, then God is disappointed and I get what I deserve. But as long as I act with integrity in a way that I'm acting authentically, and God knows that, and I'm acting within the law, if I'm asked to leave, I'll leave. Right? So here I made, back to the Hogumadi thing. So here's just implementing thread item, making a little test for it. So a feed item is nested within a thread item. So I just made a little example. So this is when you request a list of tweets, each tweet has it has an ID, a conversation ID, and a replied to tweet ID. And so I just made a case where there's not the whole chain of parents and whatever. And so now we'll get a list of a thread with some children, a thread with some children, and one child has yet another child, etc. So it's just a little test case for that. And then another thing is I've been messing with Python event sourcing. I did a thread on that a while back. And as I was, 0 likes, 0 retweets except for myself. But yeah, I basically was thinking about the use case of importing old notes into a new system because I've got the Notes app, right? And I do have my own event log, but it's not Python event sourcing. So I was just thinking about, okay, how can I import my existing event log with the same date time into Python event sourcing, which automatically has a created at timestamp. So I figured out how to create a note, collect the events for it, replace the timestamp, create a processing event, collect all of the notes, stored events, record it. Basically, I looked at the code and just do all the same steps, and then finish the steps in the save note aggregate to update the rest of the application, and then save it, and then, yes, we have a properly materialized note aggregate. So yeah, I'm really happy with Python's event sourcing library. So this is something that happened. This person blocked me, even though this is a completely constructive tweet. So I'm like, this is exactly the type of data case I'm trying to visualize in my homeless data project. The right timeline or plot can deprogram psychosis. A picture is worth 1,000 words. Data visualization makes pictures. We'll reply here if I make something for this before or after. And they literally blocked me within like 2 minutes. It's like, what? Good Lord, I'm seriously like trying to help, trying to be what's not constructive about this? I'm like, yo, this is exactly the kind of thing. Because it's like people in court are under psychosis. Like, oh, block! Troll! So I've recorded a few 15-minute walk and talks. I think I've played 1 or 2 on this channel before. So hard to convey logical cases verbally, either spoken or in writing. I mean, obviously this rubbed them the wrong way. Like, what? Oh, you're so angry. Like, this is retarded. I don't easily use insults on people like retarded or narcissist, or it's just like what is blockable about this? What's blockable about this? It's like, okay, so they don't. I think at the time I had for a while I had homeless and wholesome in my title, but what's not? So it's time consuming. I've talked about the feedback loop of making visuals versus like writing, where you've got to like edit, make it clear to read, versus just like updating the graph and exploring the graph, finding, the different points in the graph, things like that. So I think this is right where I made this that I've been showing here. Check it out, donate or become a support app merch customer. Like I said, I'm not really begging. Like, I have been in the position where I've had to beg before. I really don't like to beg or want to beg. But what's funny is when I was in the position to beg, people came through and helped me out. Not my friends and family, but total random strangers on the internet just like appeared and gave me like $100 for water, like, and food and stuff like that. Like, when I actually need to be begging, people show up and help me out. So it's like, that's why it's like, I've told my relative from the very beginning, like, if you can't loan me money, fine. If you want to kick me out, fine. Like, God will find a way. But just like being a passive aggressive, oh, you're like, everything that they do wrong will come back to them. So I really don't need to be I don't need to be getting justice or anything. I'm not trying to like get justice, but at the same time, there's a community of people, like 700,000 people are in similar situations to mine. That's just people on that one forum. So it's like there's a ton of people in these exploitive or abusive situations. So it's like that versus, oh, you're making your relative feel bad. Oh, he's doing such a shame for putting up with your abuse. That's the thing that these people do, is just make themselves into victims for everybody else, and then they come home and they're punching the shit out of you. Sorry, I said I don't swear, but it's just, they're using you as their punching bag. And it's, you know, every night my ears are filled with this vomit. Like, he comes home, he's like slamming around, blah blah blah. Like, I literally just have my ears covered. I know when you get, like, if he comes in quietly, I will wake up to just all like vulgarity, like just in the hallway right outside the door. It's just like, oh, you're making him so mad by talking about him. Every night I hear F S G D J C da da da, like, oh, I literally don't even want to hear the diarrhea, but it's like I can feel it in my whole body, and it's not like an authentic anger. It's just like I'm too much of a coward to tell you to leave, so I'm going to make you want to leave and then abandon your stuff, and I get it because you've given me implied consent by leaving it here. I'm like, that is not happening. You're going to tell me to leave, or I'm going to assume that you're just mad about people at the bar, people at work. I don't know what you're saying. I don't know if you're talking about me. I don't know if you're trying to make me leave. Like, my intuition knows, but I have no idea what's being said because I just cover my ears. And it's like, God, I cannot count all the names that I was called while I was still trying to communicate. So it's like, it's obvious to me what's happening, but I just cover my ears. Oh, see, you are being belligerent because you're covering your ears so you can't hear what's being yelled through the walls. Look, I've been in situations where I've come home and I've been extremely upset with my boss. I'm not upset with people in the house, but they don't know that because the walls are thick. Oh, it sounds like you're just trying to whack it and why get you whack where you whab it. Be a man. Tell me to leave. I'll leave. Stop avoiding them, Dan! Knock on my door when you've been. Knock on, not my door. Knock on the door. When you've gone 30 days without drinking now. The 1 day without drinking offer lasted so long. And it did not materialize into any conversation. And it can't, because as I've been saying, it takes at least 5 days, like 120 hours for alcohol to metabolize out of you. And if you've literally been drinking, it literally puts fecal matter into your brain. And if you've been drinking every single day, it's not going to be gone in 5 days. It's going to take at least, it's going to be at least, I don't even know, a month? Like, I know when I do experiments into drinking, like, if I get a hotel room and I have a bottle of wine or something, like, I don't feel right for a few days. Oh, that's just because you're a little baby and you can't handle your boo like a man. You're just a baby, you can't handle your wicker, that's why. Not like a man who can just handle a wicker and go to work every day and everybody like him. That means there's something wrong with you. Hundreds of people like your relative, but somehow you have a problem with him? Right? No, it's what, huh? See, they'll try to jump on your little, this is a retarded conversation to be having. I'm going somewhere else. Let's talk when you're sober. Right? Well, you're the one who's acting like a crazy person on that stream down there. Obviously you're something wrong with you. What, you taking in your butt? Huh? We okay? Huh? People with one stream of income who are doing nothing to secure more have no right to judge me, and I want to bully them. See, you're a bully. You ain't quite to bully people. They should be securing bags now while they can regularly eat and invest, and should try to hire me for minimum wage to help them instead of Netflix and judging me. I could help people make so much money. Well, then why don't you help yourself make money? We're a homeless punk. Using tools I built for what I built them for? Just building tools forever. Why don't I just help myself? Well, it's because I'm a much better employee than founder. I'm forced into this role, not complaining, taking baby steps into the marketing and sales. Mistakes are messy. I don't believe in being an anon. Thus, my life looks messy and crappy. I just love building the tools. I want a PM or engineering manager to please. PM's like a mini CEO, product manager. See, if I could help people for minimum wage, which has been my offer for so long, like if you can't find a way to use me for $15 an hour, you don't get to judge me, man. I've made so much more than 15. Well, you're not making it now, so. How did you get your job again? Did one of your friends or relatives connect you? Yeah, well, I'm totally isolated from all of my relatives and friends. Well, that's because you're getting violent with your cousin just like you got violent with your employer. Oh, good God. We're back to April 5th. How long is this stream? Like 2 hours? People who keep a fan blowing out the window 24 hours a day all winter. Why? So they can smoke in the house? That's expensive, right? Not only does it waste gas, it also creates extra wear and tear on the central heater. More money, just like car maintenance. And most importantly, where does the air enter the home? Depends how good the windows seal. If it's good sealing windows, potentially through the exhaust vents, creating an air quality nightmare, right? Like if there's a low pressure system created, then instead of going out of the exhaust pipe for the heater, it'll actually suck all of the combustion byproduct into the house and go towards the low pressure area, the window, right? So yeah, I lived on the streets of SF. Did I ever really feel like I was in danger? No. Did I talk about being stalked? Yes. But did I feel in danger? No, because the twinkle in the eye thing, like I never felt like I was in danger because it's just like I know that my destiny is not to die in the back seat of a car, right? So yeah, none of my friends offered to take me in from the street. I only needed 3 by 6 square feet on the kitchen floor. I mean, it's true. We were in pandemic for a lot of that. And it just would have, people were like, oh, proof of this, proof of that. Are you coming in contact with people? Stay at home orders, da-da-da-da-da. Like, people were scared. I get it. But have I used that a little bit too much to give people too much the benefit of the doubt? Like, I don't know yet. It's because I, literally haven't seen anybody since before pandemic. I've done more with Python in the last 10 months than many developers ever will. Having 20 prior years of experience obviously gave me a jump start. Why don't I have a job? I couldn't afford to do a round of interviews because became homeless and have grown to hate most tech workers. What's with the workplace violence thing? blowing the whistle on a billion-dollar company's misconduct will get a reaction like that from their legal team. I never made a threat beyond promising to drop their revenue to zero. I can't help their feeling scared by my persistence. Now I understand sociopathy as an animalistic instinct. I can focus on general problems. Their table being kicked over will be a result of the 144K awakening. I don't even have to do it. Everyone who behaves demonically will fall as a consequence of their unrepented misconduct. 3K a day isn't even that much money. It's a start. This is just saying I'll probably never use Twitter or social media to have lighthearted conversations or make friends in comment threads. If I set boundaries to strictly constructive and substantial interactions, then I can ignore anything else without guilt. Likes will similarly only be given for substance. At present, I ignore all because I feel guilty ignoring some interactions and not others. So to be consistent, I've ignored it wholesale. Paired with the professional trolling, i.e. OpenTable and their lawyers, and its possible legal implications that I've discussed. Toward the end of April, the risk profile shrinks when the restraining order is over, and I don't have a sinking feeling that, here's the thing. They buy an account, they interact with me, they give the account to a person who has a restraining order against me, they've showed themselves willing to commit perjury, bam, they'll commit perjury again. Now I'm trying to interact with them through their account, and bam, violated a restraining order, go to jail. So here is just where I'm saying I made a pre-order product, and you can see I'm starting to kind of phase in my professional brand a little bit now. So this iSpooge daily account used to be this name. So as we get out of that risk profile at the end of the month, I can start ramping up this account and having organic interactions with people a little bit more. Look, I used to be kind of tan, used to be 5 years younger. Fun times. People are like, oh man, you're leveling up. I'm like, this is me 5 years ago, guys. There exists a database with boomers who are connected with reality. It's called the empty set. There's a symbol for it. It'd be nice to get back to I'm starting to get paranoid that my relative's going to get home and I'm going to get trapped down here. So here's a practical use of Hogumathi using the RSS feed with Hacker News RSS. It's going to, like I was saying, it'd be nice to get back to the beginning of the month. Every 10 days I do a stream. Like, I don't even remember when I did my last stream. It must have been like, God, imagine one a month. I'd be on here for like so long. And this is just like opinions on things. This isn't even like stuff that I've done. Like, this is what I do between doing stuff. So yeah, I've really got to get this content publishing pipeline going. And something else too is like this whole collections thing, this whole Hogumathi thing, this whole like multiple accounts thing. So for like the last year, I've been thinking about how to implement branding strategy and looking into like theme brands and like, so basically I'm going to take all of my content and repurpose it into like several sub brands. And I'm not going to give an exact plan for that. I don't like talking about things that I'm going to do, but I have been figuring out marketing and sales and branding and, recovering my personal brand. And like, I've been doing a ton of work behind the scenes. It takes a really long time to materialize, especially when I can't even like at least freaking get a basic entry-level job at a restaurant or something, because my background check will come and say, oh, I've been violent, I'm too much of a risk for insurance to take a chance on me. So this is back to the on this day retweetings. So Now that we've been in lockdown for a year, I have some very interesting homelessness data. 3 years worth plus lots of pre-homeless benchmark. I feel like more of these had multiple retweets. I feel like people might have gotten notified and like dissociated with me because there's been a lot of people over the years who have supported me for a while and have disappeared. So like if if they get notified that I'm retweeting something, I might be like, this guy's going a little too crazy for me, so I'm just going to get my name off of that. I don't want anybody to see that I used to support them. I get it. I ain't mad. Just like it's going to be your loss, like when you try to come back. I remember you. You're in my data. You're going to be in a report. Don't worry. Everyone who's interacted with me is in a report. Oh my god, that's so creepy. It's not like I'm like studying it and caring who people are. It's just I freaking got a naughty and nice list. I'm not above having a naughty and nice list, that's for sure. Basically, I'm saying I'm in such a position of weakness that I can't negotiate a win-win-win outcome. It's just like human nature. I'm going to be exploited until I'm in a position where I have leverage, where I have something to bring to the table. So I'd rather just go be in isolation until I have something to bring to the table. And if I die in isolation, then I die in isolation. Like, okay, bye, nice life. But I'm not going to voluntarily go to a table where I have nothing to bring to it. Like, I was totally fine working minimum wage jobs, working labor jobs, no problem. But now if like somebody who's publicly tried to call me out in public and say, oh, I've got this labor job, I'm not going to associate with you or anyone who associates with you. Like, I'm not above taking a labor job, but I'm above being associated with you, buddy. Hike. You're on my naughty list. Bye. I'm not taking a job from somebody who's on my naughty list. Oh, you're just going to put everybody on your naughty list so you don't have... Like, this is just that assuming the... Like, that's what you would do. You're telling me what you would do. You're projecting your own demeanor onto me. I don't identify with that kind of demeanor. Like, I've done my best at every step. I've taken the best option available to me. And I've even lowered my standards. And you know, every time I've lowered my standards, I've gotten bit. And so I'm just not going to lower my standards anymore. I will die before I lower my standards. Now, can people who are on my naughty list get back onto my nice list? Yes, I've talked about this before. They can do the 30-day repenting. They will be given some visions from God if they do that. That's no playing with yourself, no alcohol. You know, you're not going to want to gossip anymore. You're not going to want to watch crappy TV anymore. Like, that's the thing. When you start, it's like a mind-body-spirit connection. And like, so you physically repent, you stop doing stuff, your spirit changes, your mind changes because how you perceive. You're like, oh, this show really does make me feel bad. And now I'm feeling so good about myself that it's making me feel bad, so I'm going to respect myself, and I'm not going to watch this show anymore. So it's like, now you're not watching this show anymore. Now you've got an extra hour a day. Now you're doing more like growth-oriented stuff every day. It's like this mind, body, spirit elevation. So it's like you go 30 days without drinking, you know, doing low, you know, vibration things that invite negativity into yourself. Like, you're just going to end up a better person at the end of those 30 days. And then you'll vibrate higher and higher, and now we're on a level. Now we can connect, you know? It's like 1 day without drinking. That's just like a little... It's not enough time. I can't believe I lowered my standards. I'm glad I wasn't taken up on that lowering of my standards, but it's just like, well, now you're just being unreasonable. 30 days without drink. I'm not going to go 30 days without seeing my friends. Can't go 30 days without playing bingo. Well, you can go the rest of your life without having a relationship with your relative then. You can go the rest of your life without having a relationship with your old best friend or, you know, close to best, close homies, inner circle. Your inner circle can be smaller. Go homeless guy, you take what you can get. No, I'll take the month to eval. That's just what I'm talking about. A month is not really that long. Like, if you go work for somebody, they can hold up their mask for like 3 months, maybe even 6 months. Like, you're not going to know that you're good for like at least several months. 1 month it's almost like dropping your standards. So yeah, here's where I'm going into Python event sourcing. I signed up for Buy Me a Coffee, April 3rd. Teach a man on a sinking boat how to fish. At least he didn't make him weak with the handout. It's sort of like I've talked about that trough between, $0 a month and poverty, which is $1,500 a month, $375 a week. And if you're below that $375 a week level, like, you can know how to fish, but like, you don't have rods, you don't have anywhere to dig up worms, you don't have lines, you don't have lures. Someone's going to have to give you a rod, someone's going to have to give you lures, right? Someone's going to have to give you something in addition to teaching you how to fish. So it's like, teach a man on a sinking boat how to fish. Like, he doesn't really need food at the moment. He kind of needs a boat ride or something. Like, that's where I am. I'm like, I need something to get me to a place where fishing even does something for me, where I can even afford to fish. Like, I'm that broken down right now. It's like, well, at least we didn't make him weak with a handout. Like, yeah. You're not going to pay back the money anyway. Fine, don't like me. Cut yourself off. I'm going to pay back the money. I just need to get into a spot where fishing makes a difference. Well, we gave you didn't give me the money, you lent me money. I've been doing everything I can to work myself into a position where I can, just get a minimum wage. You're not listening to, I don't need that. Yeah, you're the one who did that. It's like, you can't reason with some people. It's not up to the hiring manager if they want to hire me. It's up to insurance if they will cover a person who has a known aptitude, a known propensity toward using violence, which, yes, it's not actually true, but the court says it's true. I don't have access to justice. Insurance will not cover that. You've already done me dirty. I'm not going to take a job from you. You repent? Maybe we can talk about it. But I'm not going to just take a job from a drunk. No, I said years ago I will not work for or live with an alcoholic, and I am still I've learned my lesson lowering my standards and doing that. I should have just stayed on the street. I would have lost less. I would still be at home. I just didn't quite have faith. I didn't quite know the depths of evil that some people could be. Yes, I got bit by the corporate lawyers, but I didn't think that family would do you dirty. I didn't think that friends would do you dirty, right? I didn't get it. I thought, I was like, yeah, lawyers are paid to protect their clients. Like, okay, it makes sense that they'll get to a point where you can't reason with them. But surely friends and family won't get to that point. Yes, they do. I did not know that. It took this experience to learn that. Why can't I just get on Netflix and why can't I just get on welfare? That's another thing too. Spiritually, I'm not going to prove that I'm poor and get on welfare. I'd rather beg. I don't want to beg. I'd rather make viable offers for products and services than beg. You see how little I beg. Busking is different than begging. That's at least playing a guitar or an accordion on the side of the road with a case open, right? Like, you're at least doing something for the money. I'm at least doing something for. All you're doing on this stream is complaining. Look, I'm showing you all this product work I'm doing, all of this learning sales and well, obviously it's not just get a minimum wage. I've told you why I can't just get a minimum wage job. I would love to. I've done it several times until the fraudulent restraining order made it so that I'm not insurable in the workplace. You know, I'm repeating this fact over and over more than explaining myself. It's like I shouldn't have to explain myself, but it's like the people who don't want to get it will never get it, right? You can lead a horse to water. If it doesn't want to drink, it won't drink. So that's the thing. Like, these people just want to find reasons to mock me. Like, I know it's annoying as heck to people who get it. The 700,000 people who are in these kinds of situations get it. So it's like I should really just be talking to them. But it's like the same time, like it's like we're all isolated in our own ways. Even though we might have a thin layer of connection to each other through an online forum, we're all isolated. Practically, we're not getting each other jobs. Like, a lot of people are just anon on that forum, right? Because they're like me. Like, I know my relatives are watching this and, getting upset about what I'm saying. And, oh, you're just talking. They're getting upset that I'm talking for so long. I gotta watch all this instead of my favorite TV show. You don't have to watch this. Trying to get back to the beginning of the month. I'm getting really paranoid my relative's going to come out. It's like 8 o'clock. See, it could be, it could be now. It could be 2 or 3 hours from now. It's like I go to bed, I get woken up by a bunch of vulgarity being diarrheaed out. And then I just, like, I don't want to talk about it, but if it's taking like hours out of my... Well, you could just leave! You could just kick me out if you don't want me here. I'm not going to abandon my work. Period. I need somewhere to go with my work. I need funding to take my work somewhere. Period. I need to be told to leave. I'm not going to imply consent to take my work. Anything but my work. Like, I don't care about, I've got a bunch of other crates of stuff, but some of my school, irreplaceable research and studies. I'm just not going to imply consent that I've abandoned it. If I'm asked to leave, then practically I have no choice but to abandon it. So I can be a punching bag. Well, if you want to be a punching bag, just shut up about being a punching bag and take it like a man. Men don't talk about themselves. Men, if they were back on our people, they don't weigh them burden on them. What, men? Come on, brothers. Get with me here, brothers. Triple H, homeless Harlan, aka Hitler, smoking the crack in a good way with Python event source, and we got a standalone analytics powder cooked into its own muffin, rockin' piped. C-suites know what's up, like their profits if only they'd hire allegedly violent Triple H. So yeah, here's the event sourcing stuff. Man, April 3rd, I was busy. Unsung aspect of looking for work after leaving California. A, previous pay. A, that question is illegal in California. B, nowhere else will match our minimum wage. So it's like, I applied to a couple jobs outside of California, and it's like minimum wage $10 an hour, pay in California. Previous job, $20 an hour. Like, you're a little insane. Alleged worker shortage. Employers aren't paying enough to compete with welfare. I've taken no welfare despite being approved for unemployment. I've lived on loans and donations for the whole of the pandemic. My day rate consulting. Still April 3rd, come on. So yeah, I started updating the Notes app a little bit. It's $30, lifetime updates. Looking for Hogumadi's first customer. A support plan is $225 a month. Oh, stop begging! This alternative to the indicative trauma impact manual. So it's an alternative basically to the BDSM bonds you to to some kind of diagnosis. So this is all talking about how trauma responses and coping mechanisms without suggestion of disorder or illness. Really, BDSM, like what is it? Diagnostic whatever manual. So this is a big deal. April 2nd, by building Hogumadi into a borderline saleable piece of intellectual property, I've done what my gut instinct told me not to do. Upon coming to stay with my relative, I've never felt safe here, but at least I had nothing of value to rob. He invited me to come start a business. It's true. So, like, yeah, my work is of value to me. It's like a die on the hill kind of thing, die on the hill kind of thing, but is it actually valuable? I mean, it's worth like, 5 cents of recycled paper. Maybe sell the books for like $100, whatever. I've got like 4 boxes of books. Buying land for off-grids. I just shared a video. My April Fool's joke was going to be Harlan took his own life with a hammer last night. When sick people raise you, sick things are funny. Trying not to poison the world, but also struggling with where to vomit up the poison. Toilets are connected to rivers. Fact. When you go to apply for the job, don't tell them that you're homeless, because I promise they won't hire you. Atmosphere. I've known that line since I was in high school, and it holds. When I lived in my car and showered in a gym, didn't tell a soul. Then pandemic hit, no way to hide it. Alright, so we got through the beginning of the month. Let's see if the stream is still going. Yay, stream is still going. What's up? Alright, gonna sign off because we got to the beginning of the month. Thanks for joining. Who knows when I'll be back. But, yeah. Cheers.